All right. Brenton, before we get into it, we always start with like is there a TikTok or an Instagram video that, comes to mind as like your favorite or, yeah.
100%. And the way I found you was I'm sure everyone's seen it, the swapping the NHP RCBOs to the Hager.
Yes, that's a classic video. That got a lot of reactions, and you mentioned off camera as well that all the news feeds and all of your closed members groups and stuff like that, was that doing the rounds in there, was it?
Yep. Every group chat I was in, it was getting shared, and yeah, everyone had something to say.
And what did you have to say about it?
Well, at first I was like, sort of, what the fuck? Like, I would never do that. I would never say do that. But then, I mean, after thinking about it, like if I've got certain clients, if they tell me to do something, I do it, right?
Yeah.
And I don't question it.
100%.
So if I was in that situation, I'd probably do the same.
Awesome. And for those that don't know the situation or know the video, basically it's one of the videos when I was extra rogue on socials. We had a client in my electrical business that wanted their switchboard the exact same brand as the one that they had in their previous property because they moved house. And they had a switchboard that was fully compliant, all on NHP. The brand was NHP safety switches. And, they wanted us to change it to the same brand that was, at their previous property. And obviously we suggested like, there's nothing wrong with it, but yeah, it's not the same brand. Right. And everyone went crazy. And like one of the comments said, you ripped them hard. There was no need to upgrade and you should have told them. Testament to your character. Like, what do you have to say about that?
Well, I was in like a very similar situation, except it wasn't RCBOs. I got told by a client that it was just like a little commercial driveway and he wanted to light it up. He's like, I want massive floodlights down.
Yep.
I'm looking at him like, you probably need 250-watt floodlights. That's it. And he's like, I want 4. And he goes, 50-watt. He's like, what's that? And I was like, trust me. I go, if you want 4, it's way too much. It's more than enough. I'm just telling him it's 100%. You do not need any more. And I kept telling him what he needed. And I could tell he was not happy. Like, I didn't know him too much. It was a new client of mine. I didn't know his personality. I didn't understand personality types or anything like that. But I was just of the belief he didn't need more. I've done it a million times. Listen to my advice. I installed it. He wasn't happy. He goes, it's not bright enough. It's not bright enough. I want like a stadium. It's like, what are you talking about? Anyway, I ended up having to swap 4 50-watt floodlights for 200-watt floodlights. And he's like, that's it. Like, now I'm happy. I was like, wow. Like, I'd never experienced that before. So from that moment, the client gets what the client wants.
So sell them what they want, not what they need.
Exactly.
Awesome. Without further ado, we're joined by Sparky Sales Systems member, 7-figure Sparky, dominant in the Inner West. We've got Brenton from Russo Electrical. Welcome, Brenton.
Thank you. Good to be here.
Awesome. So, Brenton, before I get into it, every time I go into the Inner West, even before you were a member of Sparky Sales Systems, I saw Russo Electrical absolutely everywhere. It would be on, it could be on job sites. Even yesterday, I was on Lyons Road, and there I saw it again. I see signs, Russo Electrical. So, tell us a bit about who you are and what your business is.
So, I actually started 10 years ago. So this is my 10th year in business.
Wow.
I started when I was 22.
Yep.
I did my apprenticeship in commercial, and
by commercial, was that office fit outs? What was that?
Yeah, just office fit outs, a lot of data.
Yeah.
I got my license. I think I was actually 20 when I got my license. So really quick, I got signed off early. I got given a van. I ended up just going around and terminating data, doing patch panels.
Non-stop, eh?
Yeah. So I actually didn't know electrical. Like, it's not a shot at my company, like great company, still get on with them to this day, made a lot of friends there, but like, just, I think it's the commercial field in general. You don't get a good learning, and you might know commercial, but like that is a very small sector of the electrical trade, and going out and starting a business with that knowledge is not a good idea. I wouldn't recommend it, because I'd never installed a ceiling fan.
Wow.
I'd never installed a dimmer. I'd never installed an earth rod.
Yep.
I knew like how to do things just from TAFE, but I'd never practically done it. I didn't even know of a house there was like a cavity.
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
I
yeah,
didn't
yeah,
know.
yeah, yeah.
I assumed every wall I could just drill down the top and feed it all the way down like you can in commercial.
But
I
that's
didn't know
still the
about
same.
Timbin.
Yeah, that's still the same today though. There's so many Sparkies in the same. I love this, right? I love how you
Yeah.
started like that because it's still the same today, right? Like there's a lot of Sparkies that do their apprenticeship on big companies, commercial companies, and they're great companies. And a lot of the time, the big commercial companies pay a higher sort of apprenticeship, like the union companies.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if was yours union or no
I
non-union.
don't think so.
No,
No.
wasn't union,
No.
but that's all right. But like I know I did as well. I was doing apartments for
Mm.
quite for the majority of mine, so you know, I wasn't really exposed to all the ins and outs of because we're doing subboards. We didn't even know what when I was qualified, I barely knew what an MEN was.
I had never even worked on a switchboard. Maybe I'd connected in an RCD on an existing board, but really, I'd never worked on a switchboard.
And you were licensed.
I was a licensed electrician
I was the same. Yeah.
with my own business.
Yeah.
Absolutely crazy. Yeah.
That's awesome. I love this, and it's the same for so many Sparkies. And I think it depends who you do your apprenticeship with. Like some people do their apprenticeship with smaller companies, smaller operators, and they get a lot more exposed to all the ins and outs. But so basically, you said you've been in 10 years business now. You did your apprenticeship as working for a commercial company. You started your own business. Like, why did you start your own business? Like, you came from commercial. You knew the trade, but not the extent of the trade's pretty big. But like the broader range of the trade, I don't think you've said that you didn't really have the best understanding of like what made you get into business.
I always wanted to open my own business, like from when I was little. Or my parents had their own businesses, like my aunties, uncles, everyone I knew had their own businesses. So it was sort of always the plan for me. But that being said, I did not intend to do it so quickly. I think I just was too big for my boots. I wanted to make more money. I kept asking for pay rises. I wasn't getting them. I was getting told you're only 21, 22. In my head, I was like, but I'm a licensed electrician. You're getting me to go out.
Yep.
I didn't fully understand. And like now I do, but yeah, I just made the call at that point and there was no going back.
On that note, because it's so funny, because as an employee, so many guys are so confident to ask for pay rises, but then when they go on their own, they're so easy to discount themselves, if that makes sense. Like when you're an employee, you're like, no, give me a pay rise, give me a pay rise. But then as soon as they get out, I'm not saying you did this, but as soon as they get on their own, you'll be like, oh, I'm charging $70 an hour, and the customer will be like 35. It's like done. But yeah, so
that's probably me.
we'll get into that. I want to hear that. I want to hear those stories. But so coming out of your apprenticeship, like how, and basically lack of a bit of knowledge of the whole broader stuff. How did you start getting work, and how did you start learning the trade?
Okay, so first thing I did was put an ad in the local paper.
Nice.
Because it seems crazy now, but 10 years ago, Instagram wasn't a thing. Like even like your website SEO, it was a thing, but you probably had to put in big money. I didn't have that. So, and everyone, like my parents, aunties, uncles, everyone said, you got to put an ad in the local paper. So I paid like $300 for a couple of months, got an ad, and I just looked at the other ads. The other ads said, no call out fee, $70 an hour. So I was like, oh, that's what I've got to do. That's what I've got to charge. I'll just copy that.
Yeah.
So I put no call out fee, $70 an hour. And that's where I got my pricing from. It was like so mind blowing now looking back on it, but that's how I decided what I need to charge.
Wow. And like what sort of work were you picking up? Like was it successful? Did you get any work from it, or?
I definitely got work, but it was people just absolute bottom feeders that were taking advantage of me because I was young. They probably knew I was undercharging, just absolutely took advantage of me. And I mean, I still made money, but like I worked super hard. I was so scared of failure. I would work like 14 hours a day just to prove to myself that like I'm making more than I was making before.
Oh my God. I love that so much that you say that, because so many guys, when they get into sort of business and they're working off $70 an hour or whatever, $100 an hour, whatever it might be. 10 years ago, $70 an hour kind of makes sense. That was the going rate, and some Sparkies still charge that today, which is crazy. But anyway, yeah, everyone knows my views on the charge out rates. But even at $70 an hour, like, were you getting pushback from customers then? Like, that was still cheap. That's still an under. Yeah, like, were you getting pushback? What was the go there?
Yeah, definitely. I was going out quoting jobs for free because obviously I had free quotes, and people would ask me like to install a ceiling fan. Actually, one story. I'll never forget this.
Oh,
Never.
share.
I get to this lady's house in Burwood. She's called me from the local ad, and before I walk in the door, she's like, is your boss coming? Like, what's going on? And I was like, no, like, I'm the boss. And she's like, how old are you? I was like, I'm 22. She goes, are you a licensed electrician? I said, yeah. She made me show her my physical license before I entered the house. And she's like, you can call me Mrs. Mitchell. And I was like, okay. And so Mrs. Mitchell, never forget her. I walked into her house. She goes, I want a ceiling fan here. Like, what can you suggest? I was like, oh, but now I've got suggestions. But back then I'm like, oh, it's probably better if you pick the fan. There's so many different fans. Like, you go to the lighting shop, you pick the fan, and I can come and install it. And she's like, oh, okay. Well, then how much is the installation? And I was like, well, is there anything else you want it done? And she's like, yeah. I just wanted this light repaired. I don't want to replace it. I just want to repair it. And it was a compact fluorescent pendant, and it was like sort of half lit up. So I just thought it was a globe. So I'm like, look, I'm pretty sure that's a globe. So I'll just change the globe for you. And my hourly rate is $70 an hour, and it'll take me an hour to install the fan. So I said $70, right? And she was like, okay, no worries. All right, well, like, I think I've got everything I need. I'll just go get a fan, and I'll call you to come put it in. I was like, okay, no worries, let me know. Never heard from Mrs. Mitchell.
Oh,
so I was going to install her fan for $70.
Yes.
And I still didn't get the job.
Didn't get the job. Oh my God. Yeah. And you know what's funny? There's still people today charging those rates, and they probably still wouldn't get the job. You know what I mean? And that's why I think, well, that's crazy, to think that. And I think that's where sales sort of comes in as well, which is not a dirty word, which we'll probably touch on. But interesting. And but how did you learn on site as well? Like, did you just learn as you went? Did you, like, in terms of doing the actual trade as well? Because you came from commercial, like, were you just ceiling fan? Yeah, I'll do that, and just work it out? Or how did you learn all these ins and outs? Was it like...
Yeah, I mean, embarrassingly enough, I was too proud to ask for help. I had my uncle there who was a Sparky, and I didn't want to like ask dumb questions because it's embarrassing. Mm-hmm. So I would just literally learn on the job. I would get the job, and I'd always lose money because I would quote what I thought it should take, but it would take me longer because I had to work it out.
Yeah.
So
you're probably not counting your hours as well, because we call it, as you know, we call it sweat equity. So it's your time on site. So you're probably not even counting it. So you're probably making money, but you're probably doing 16-hour days or 12-hour days. So you're like, oh, I didn't make as much as I thought. Oh, and then you get used to that. And so many Sparkies, they get used to the pain after. Like, you know, that's just what it is. Like $70, like you said, you saw an ad, $70 an hour, $0 call out. I'll do the same. And then people are working off those rates and trying to make it work. Or too often I see people getting, and I want to hear your thoughts on this. A lot of guys that I speak to, because I speak to electricians obviously every day, a lot of guys are getting their rates dictated to them by the builder. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, yeah. So, I mean, everyone has a rate in their head, and how they came up with that, it might be how they formulated it from actual numbers of their business, or it's a builder told them. But that rate is in your head, right? So just say, we know there's people out there doing duplexes for $20,000.
Yuck.
Maybe even less. But that rate is in their head, right? So if the builder says, this next one, we've got to do it for 15,000, but they've just done 3 duplexes for 20, it's actually very hard mentally for that electrician to drop. So because he's got, even though $20,000 is actually ridiculously undervalued and they're selling themselves short, they've still got that in their head. So they can't drop. So maybe the builder will find a new Sparky for 15.
Yeah.
So everyone's got that number in their head, and it's how you get to it. And like, it's
based off data, but like no one wants to be that rip-off guy. And I think what it is I see a lot of electricians, they just accept that's what the rate is. And I think that's what's so wrong, because, you know, I speak to guys and they're doing, you know, downlights for $50 a downlight, $60 a PowerPoint. And I'm just like, oh, no, stop, let me help you. It's just like, and they're like, but that's what it is. Like, I even spoke to a guy the other day, and he was in Sydney, and he was like, he does C-bars, he works for builders, does a bit of this, a bit of that. And he goes to me, Spiro, there is no way I can do upwards of 2.5K per day per truck. It doesn't happen. And I go, why? He goes, it might happen in your area, it doesn't happen in my area. Now, his area was Quakers Hill. He's probably listening to this, and that's fine. And I said, okay, well, I can send you a screenshot of a job that my guys are doing right now, which is $15,000, 2 guys, 2 days. And you're turning over right now $15,000 a month with 3 guys and 3 trucks. And he goes, but a lot of my work is friends and family. So I can't charge more. And I go, well, just understand this. Your friends and family are currently ripping you and your family from making more money elsewhere. Just know that. And look, maybe that was a bit too harsh, but sometimes I think people do need a bit of a slap to just be like, because they're so used to it and they're so content with that's what the rate is. I can't charge more than $100 an hour. That's like, what do you say to those people there that are like, you know, that they're so fixated? And I showed them like, my electrical business right now is doing a job in that same area, $15,000 in 2 days. And he goes, oh, like looking for every excuse. Oh, but my reviews, I've got reviews. Like if I get a bad review, I'm done. I go, look at my reviews. We're not doing the wrong thing, man. You know what I mean? We're not saying to do anything wrong by the customer, but at the end of the day, you're underpricing your jobs. And yeah, and that, like, do you have anything to say on that?
Well, I was there, like 100%. I was there. I was undercharging everything. And in my head, wanted to give my clients the best possible price. I wanted to look after them. They pay me. So I wanted to make sure that I was giving them the best price. I didn't want them to go out in there and find someone else with a cheaper quote. But the problem with that is when I started to grow and employ people, my employees weren't doing it at the same speed I was.
Yeah.
And they weren't also doing the same quality because I was then rushing them because I was like, hurry the fuck up.
Yeah.
Like we need to give the client this outcome in this amount of time for this price. And it wasn't sustainable.
Yeah.
It wasn't sustainable. So I eventually learned more about business and realized I'm massively undercharging. And then it was like a light bulb moment because I realized my clients know this. They actually know this. And some of them are just taking advantage of me.
Yeah.
And because I'm Italian in 5-Doc, they're all using, oh, where's your family from? Oh, that's,
You're Italian,
that's
I'm Italian.
the island. Yeah. Oh, maybe we're relatives, like all that sort of stuff. Yeah. And it wasn't
in Greek, they say "elede phile," which means like, come on, come on, my friend. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So it was a lot of that sort of stuff. And they weren't doing it any reason other than me giving them the best price. And when I realized that they were taking advantage of me, that's when everything changed. And like, I wasn't going to put up with that ever again. So
what did you do? Did you like crunch down your numbers? I think you got it, some business coaching, mentoring. Is that what helped shape your mindset? Because we've kind of said you started 10 years ago. You went, so basically commercial, then started just learning all the trade on the field. You pretty much taught yourself electrical, right? On the field, right? A lot of the time. And then you were grossly underpriced, just listening to what other people are charging, going off those rates, which we know isn't the right rates, because it's like the blind leading the blind. You came to that light bulb moment, which I'm so happy you did, because a lot of electricians don't. They don't. They think they just accept it. Like my previous example, they just accept that's what it is. That's the rate. You can't charge. No, it doesn't work in my. That's what I hear all the time. But does your system work in this area? It's not going to work in my area. No, I'm different. Well, you're just making excuses for yourself at the end of the day. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's up to you if you want to implement the strategies or not. But what sort of changed for you? Did you get help? Did you get mentoring? Did you speak to someone? How did you get that light bulb?
Well, it was a combination of like maxing out the work I could actually do, because I had myself and I think I had 2 guys and I was still undercharging and just riding them. And then I bought 2 units and then I tried to buy another one, and the bank's like, you're dreaming. Like, you can't buy anything else. Like, but I've never missed a payment. I saved up another $80,000. Like, I'm ready. I can do it. You can see that I can do it. And they're like, your business doesn't make enough money. You don't pay yourself enough. You don't pay enough tax. Like, it just went on. I'm like, well, how am I going to make it in life? How am I going to make it? Like, something's not right. So that's when I started reaching out to people. I joined the Electrician Success Academy back then. I learned a lot from them. in a short amount of time. And I reached out to like, and but bear in mind, I'd never reached out. I'd never asked for help before.
So step one is reaching out. There's so many programs out there, good programs as well.
Yeah.
So would you say, because a lot of people are probably shy, like would step one be to reach out to?
Yeah, I should have done that before I started. I should have learnt my trade properly, and then I should have learnt business properly.
Yeah.
And it wouldn't have set me back 5 years. Probably 5 years. I could have fast tracked that in a year or two.
Yeah.
And, you know, gotten ahead quicker. But yeah.
When I did my first program, I want to hear your take with your first program that you joined up as well. It was just like this. That was when I had my light bulb moment, because I was getting pumped by builders, and I was that guy where I was like, I'm a yes guy, so I'm like, yeah, I'll do that. I'll do that. Yeah. And there was no discrepancies, but as everyone knows, like I got to a point where I was owed $200,000, and I was like, I got to that light bulb moment. I was like, I can't. It was just so much pain, and I was just like, I'm a hard worker. The way I was raised, probably the same as you, just get it done. And it just got to that point. I was like, I can't buy a property. I can't, afford to rent. I can't afford to, and I'm a driven individual. I want more. I want to be able to provide for my family as well, as we all do. That's what it's about at the end of the day. It's, look, some people are more driven than others, but at the end of the day, you just want to make as much profit for you and your family. I think everyone would have would you agree with that?
100%.
And when you're working your absolute, see off, and it's just not coming back, the fruits of your labor, it got to a point where I got a cold call. I've said this before, I won't go into it now, but I got a cold call from, it was an online course to do, similar to what you sort of did. And it was just like, oh my God, yes. And that's what really got me into the service model, then I went to America, and the rest is sort of history. And is that what sort of sparked your sort of light bulb moment as well? Like when you did that first program, to be like, that makes sense. Like I am priced wrong. I could be doing slight tweaks in the business just to accelerate my growth. Is that what you sort of had?
Yeah. So in like 3 months, I watched every video they had online, and I was blown away by how much I learned. Like I changed my whole pricing structure. I was giving better service as well. Like I wasn't just charging more. I was changing the way I price things. And I had nothing but great feedback. I upped my prices, but no complaints at all. And I just saw the light from that point onwards. And I was like, wow, if I've reached out to someone and I've learned this much this quickly, like who else can I reach out to? How else can I grow personally and in business? Yeah. And that's when things started to change.
Awesome. And how did they change? Like, did you, were you able to employ more people? What were you able to sort of do?
Well, firstly, it was my goal, like, yes, business, but I'm more interested in property. Like,
I'll hold you on that. What comes first, business or property? I love this question.
It changes.
Yeah, but everyone knows
it has to be business. Business is first, because you can't have the property or fund property without it. So,
because I get on calls all the time, and I love this. And I love I don't want that to be one or the other. Brenton, you're a beast. You just said it. The business has to come first. Doesn't mean you got to grow a big business, but like in your situation, you want to buy, I think it was your third property, you said, but you got capped out because your business wasn't as profitable. It wasn't as profitable as it should be. So you need to have your income. You got to increase it. You got to increase your serviceability to purchase more properties, right? So I get on calls all the time, and people are like, "Oh, I'm not sure if I should." And they're getting out of their apprenticeship, and they're looking at these 5% deposit schemes and all that, and they're like, "I'm not sure if I should buy a property first or start the business." For me, I had the same issue, because especially with you, I know with your family, with European parents, being you're Italian, I'm Greek. It's a big push. You have to buy very soon. You got to buy, otherwise you're a failure. And if anyone's listening to this, you need to have income before you buy. Otherwise, you're not going to have that risk tolerance. You're not going to be able to invest in your business, which is going to produce you more income. And think of it like this: if you want to propose to your partner when you're 20 years old, right, as an apprentice, versus you want to propose to your partner when maybe you're 25, 30 years old, just say, for instance, which would you be more in a, how can I frame it? Would you be in a better position to buy a bigger ring when you're 20 or when you're 30?
Obviously 30.
that's my point. It's the same with property. There's no rush. Like, focus on the business, focus on increasing that income. Then you can buy everything. Are you going to get capped at? Well, you tell me. Am I speaking rubbish, or is it? I want to hear your sort of take on it.
Yeah, 100%. Like I got told I can't, like, dreaming, no chance of buying more property. That's when I asked for help. I reached out to a client of mine who I knew had a lot of property. What do I do? He said, you need to focus on your business and you need to speak to professionals.
Yeah.
So I took that as, I need a business coach and I need to talk to a property expert, because I can't do it myself. I've tried. I've hit a wall. I've hit a roadblock. I can't get any further. So I seeked help for business and property. And from that moment, I've watched both avenues of my life excel, and it's got a little bit to do with me, but like, it's mainly the people that have helped me, because I would not be where I am now if I didn't get that help.
Oh my God, I love that so much. It's about know-how, right? It's not about time. It's not about time. It's about the know-how and implementation. Would you agree?
100%.
Yeah, and that's what's all the thing. And for me, like, even for Sparky Sales Systems, for us to have the growth that we've had as well here in both my electrical business and Sparky Sales Systems, it's all because of mentors. You know what I mean? Like, I think it's the best thing ever. It might sound biased, but you just invest X amount of dollars here to get X amount back, right? Like, it's and and this is the thing. It's like, you already came from another program. So I just want to hear this. Like, what made you sort of reach out to Sparky Sales Systems? Because you already had like mentors and stuff like that in your corner, both property and business. Like, what made you, sort of reach out to another one, Sparky Sales Systems?
So I actually only joined that first program for like 3 to 6 months. And then I got off it because I was like, I've learned everything I need. That's it. Got off it. And then my business did better. I ended up buying a couple more properties and I was focusing on that. I started an Airbnb up at Foster, so I renovated that. So I was like, I put my business on the back burner a little bit.
Yeah.
Like, I was concentrating on that sort of stuff. And then when that was all done. I came back to my business and I just sort of got in a little bit of a rut. Yep. I wasn't pushing anymore. I was comfortable with the clients I had. And then, I just, at the beginning of this year, my guys weren't happy. I wasn't happy. We didn't make money last year. When I look at the profit and loss, we literally lost $15,000. Like, and that's because I was away for a bit of it. But at the same time, I was like, what am I doing? Like, I'm working 10, 12 hours a day sometimes, and I didn't make money. I got into a rut. So I had to make change.
Yeah, right. Okay, cool. So you had to make change, and you were like, okay, give this Instagram guy a go. What have you sort of gotten out of it, like, for yourself? Like, has it helped you progress your business? Have you got a different take on it? I know you've had some wins. Can you share any of those wins that you've had from joining the program, or different outlooks, or different sort of twists on your business?
Yeah, so I would have never considered myself like a sales guy. And when I saw your business, I looked at sales. So initially I was like, nah, I don't think that's me and whatnot. But after speaking to you on the phone and realizing you probably could have named it a little bit differently.
I love that. Let's touch on that. Yeah, I love that you brought that up, because we've spoken off camera before, and we actually brought it up on the last podcast with Chris from High Demand. But because both of you said maybe the name Sparky Sales Systems throws a lot of people off.
Yeah, so 100% it threw me off. After speaking to you on the phone for like probably an hour the first time we spoke, I was like, actually, there's a lot more to it. I'm going to give it a crack. It's not even that expensive. So just give it a crack. I shouldn't be opposed to trying new things and growing. Even if I don't take 100% out of it, like if I take 20%, it's still a win. If I take little parts here and there and implement it and it makes changes and I learn from it, it's a win. So, and that's essentially what's happened. I mean, I definitely more than 20% I've taken away, but like, I've learned so much.
No, I love that. I love that, because a lot of people G themselves up and they go, oh, but I've got to change my whole business model. I've got to do this. It's like, bro, would you agree? Stop overthinking it. Like, it's up to you at the end of the day how much of the SSS system you want to implement into your business. And then, like, would you agree with that? Like, people think, I've got to go straight B2C or B2B, or just go strictly service. Like, you do construction as well. You do construction still, right?
Yeah.
And you've got success because you know, you're selective. They've got mutual respect for you. You got respect for your clients, massive respect for your clients, and you know, you've implemented like the sales sort of strategies. What you've taken the most out of, was it the lead gen? What have you sort of, you know, implemented into your business that has helped you push forward to get you out of the rut? That's what I want to hear.
Well, funnily enough, on one of the calls, we did a checklist for people that turn over under 60K and people that turn over 60K a month, right? And I didn't understand. I just did both, and it was like a red line, a green tick on the red or green
Traffic
box.
light system, red
Traffic lights, right? So on the over 60K one, I had lots of greens, but on the under, I had lots of reds, and I was like,
oh my god,
how's this happening?
Yes.
And then I when we went through it and I listened, we finished the call. I'm like, what the fuck? Like, what? Something is really bad. I'm over 60K, but I've got all these basic things wrong with my business. I had basic systems, processes. Like, I didn't have so many basic things. Like, I've got a massive database of 2,000 clients. I've never reached out to anyone. It's just sitting there. I've never done anything about that. I realize I've got like core issues with my business that I need to fix. So that was my number one priority, which I've done so much in the last few months. So that's awesome. That's not sales at all, right?
Yeah, exactly. That's business. That's business.
Basic things that I learned and I had to rapidly change. From a sales perspective, I'd never learned personality types or thought that I needed to, because naturally I've always like been pretty good at getting jobs. I always generally get along with most people, and probably like a massively high win rate on quotes. Too high, like it probably should be lower. So I did not think that was an issue. But once I learned the personality types and was like, hey, this kind of makes sense, because I can get along with like 85% of people, but like there's that small bracket of people that I can't get along with and I find it a bit awkward. Like, this is why. This is why. This is what I need to do, and this is how I can work on that small percentage of people that I'm not connecting with. And not only did it help me in that, it made me more confident in what I already know. Like what I'm good at, I'm more confident in it now because it's solidified like the reasons behind that.
For sure. I love that. So I love everything about that, because it's one of those things, you know, there's a lot of sales strategies, but they all come back down to morphing into those personality types, which is super, super important. And the traffic light system that we've got in like checking your business and making sure that it's performing firing on all cylinders. That was an awesome call, the 6-week game plan. And the reason why it's so awesome is because I always say, even if you're doing over 60K, let's look at the under 60K to see if any of the fundamentals in your business are lacking, which you had all of the good stuff in this over 60K. And that's so true, because a lot of the basics we overlook. So it's very good to go back, look at the under 60K, making sure that we're not dropping the ball on all of that. So that's cool. And so you've mentioned that a lot of it and sales, it's the word sales might send people the wrong way, but it is a business program to help to go from startup to 7-figure business owner. And you don't have to become a 7-figure business owner. I think that's where a lot of people G themselves up. It's like, we've got guys that are solo operators, and you've seen it. You can confirm, right? We've got solo operators doing even, you know, upwards. Our minimum is 40K a month that we want you hitting. That's what we train people to get. Do you reckon that's reasonable?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, and we've got guys hitting upwards of $70,000 a month per truck, and they're surfers, and they don't want to grow. They don't want to grow and get more trucks. They want to sort of, you know, stick to a single, you know, solo operation. Them and an apprentice, which is cool, right? It's what do you say about them? Like, that's just, everyone's a little bit different. Would you agree?
Yeah, it's different because like I've always done everything, like builder stuff. Like we've worked for pool builders, IT guys, landscapers, commercial data. Like we've
very big on the strata real estate thing as well.
Yeah, lots of real estate and strata, and I've made so many contacts and connections, and I've built that database that I've never used, but I've got that from doing everything and saying yes to everything. Which definitely, like, obviously my profit margins on some work is down here and other stuff it's up here, but that's sort of, that's how I've got to where I am, but I've never said no. So if I went down that road, or the people that do go down that road, my only worry is, are you turning down because you've upgraded their switchboard and changed their downlights and something at this house? What if they buy a new house and they want you to work with the builder? Are you then losing that opportunity, or do you just say, we don't do that? So that's sort of why I've always said yes to everything.
Yep.
I understand everyone's different, and by me doing that and saying yes to everything, I've got that disparity in my profit margins.
Yeah.
So I've just got to accept that, and I'm happy with that. I'm comfortable. But you can definitely go the other way. You can definitely just take the cream jobs, turn everything else down, but you've got to just accept that that's the risk.
That's the risk. Yeah, that's right. That's right. And it's a different strategy. So everyone's a little bit different. And at the end of the day, if you're in business, and we've spoken about off camera about this before as well, like if you're in business, in this day and age with so much resource, right? Even just following you've said this to me, like, well, I can't remember. You can re-jot my memory. You're speaking to someone about, I think, charge out rates or something, and I don't know, do you remember this? And they were saying to you, no, you can't do it. Was similar to the story that I kind of said before.
Yeah.
And oh, that's right. I think someone was trying to teach you about business, and you're like, you were then teaching them about business. Do you want to share that story?
So we went out I think Sal took us out to an event, and then after we're having drinks, and I was with this older Sparky, very successful guy. And he was like starting to give us advice. I was with another Sparky, and he was like asking questions about business and stuff. And it turns out we were sort of turning over the same money.
Yep.
And we had less guys. He was just like blown away. He's like, what do you mean? Like, what are you guys charging and stuff? I'm like, what are you charging out? I'm like, well, we don't actually charge per hour. We do this. We've got set prices for everything. And he was like, but how? How? He's like mind blown. I'm like, we went through it, and like you could tell this guy, his mind was just blown.
Yeah.
And then he's like, I don't know if I can do that and stuff. I'm like, he's like, I tried to raise my price $5 an hour. So 110 to 115 last year. And he goes, I felt uncomfortable doing that. And I'm like, but do you want to give your guys a pay rise? And he's like, yeah. He's like, told me these guys are on $40 an hour and stuff. I'm like, well, like a licensed Sparky should be getting upwards of that, right? And he's like, yeah, I agree, but I just can't because my clients, and I can't up my rates like that. I'm like, well, this is how.
Yeah.
This is how you can do it. My clients are happy. His clients are happy. So why can't you do it? And he's just like this guy's like 50, and he's just mind blown. He's like, far out. I thought I was going to teach you guys about business in these drinks. And it's like, my mind is absolutely blown. And he goes, yeah, I want to look after my guys. Like they're my number one. I'm like, exactly. Your boys are your number one priority. Your clients, yes, but your boys. Like I'm sure everyone.
And you got that from SSS, I think you said that sort of mindset.
100%. So like, that's the biggest thing. I love my workers. I love my boys. I want them to all succeed.
Yeah.
And they see the stress I'm under sometimes, and I can tell they don't want that. Like one of them went out and did his own thing, and he's come back, and he's so much better for it. But he's as well to me. He's like, it's fucked. Like it's so hard, right? So it's not for everyone.
It's not.
So I want a way that it doesn't have to be. I can deal with that stress and pressure and the shit from the clients.
Yeah.
And you do the install.
Yeah.
I pay you well. We work out a bonus system.
Good.
However, everyone can win, and we do it together. That's what I want.
Everyone wins. I love that. I love that. And that's why I say I'm so big on, because people go, like, I've got 20 trucks or something like that. I don't need coaching or something like that. It's like, let's talk about your numbers. Like that whole how many trucks you have means absolutely nothing. It's really, and that's why I say per truck. Like it doesn't matter if you're doing currently, under 10,000, under 20,000, whatever it is. But that's why I say it's a per truck revenue figure. You know what I mean? And that's why we're very big on, you got to make upwards of 2.5K per day per truck. And probably and actually I won't mention the name of the company, but pretty dominant company that's got over 30 trucks in Sydney, and they were doing a lot of strata maintenance. Even their mind was blown when I was sort of sharing the business model to them. They were like, what? You can do that? You can do that? I'm like, you can get away. And they go, you get away with it. It's like, mate, it's not a matter of getting away with it. It's like what you actually have to charge to make a profit. Like that's what it is. You're allowed to. And I'm super proud to be an electrician. And I think you are as well, right? Like and there's a lot of electricians doing it tough, and you would probably agree. It doesn't need to be that way, right? And
it shouldn't. Like, and what hit home for me as well is like you said at the beginning, everyone knows Russo, everyone knows that art in the inner west, and like North Shore, wherever. But people would see me at the wholesale. I'm like, oh, are you Russo? Are you the
Yes.
boss? Like, yeah. And like, they're like, fuck, you're killing it, bro. I'm like, why? Why? Just because you see some R's around on some vans and think to myself, like, why does everyone think that? Should I be killing it? Because I feel like I'm not. And I'm like looking at my profit and loss at the end of the year, like, I'm not killing it.
So you could be doing more. You could be doing, you're doing well, but you could be like, and that's the thing. A lot of people, you could be doing well, but you potentially could be doing better. But bro, like every time I go to the Inner West, you can't go to the Inner West without seeing an R, a Russo. You know, anyone that's in Sydney will see, you know, if you're in Five Dock, Gladesville, like that's probably not sure. Like, you know, or like Lions Road, like yesterday I went to Lions Road. Russo Electrical. So I think it was at a Strata or something like that at the front there. But that's awesome. And I remember you saying, like, as you're just real quick as well, as you're morphing as well, which is, and that's the thing, just touch on sales quickly. Like, sales not a dirty word. You got to convert more jobs into sales, and you got to, and I think you said a quote to me before, which I really liked, which is, you could probably correct me. There's something about like, you got to be able to morph into different, like you got to have dinner with the king, but
oh yeah. Someone told me once, the most important rule of business, if you're to succeed, is you must be able to dine with the king and dance with the peasants. Yeah. So you need to mix and with everyone you come across, and you need to try to, as quick as you can, match their personality and get on their level.
100. I love that so much, and it doesn't matter if the job's in Mount Druitt, which is obviously like a lower sort of socio-economical area, or if it's in, you know, the eastern suburbs, like in Darling Point, like because there's a change there, right, between the customers, and you've still got the same chance of converting the $10,000 job in, you know, Mount Druitt versus Darling Point. Would you agree? You just got to.
I think so. Yeah, I think so. But if you're not capable of making that a change, you can't do it. So, like the most basic rule of sales before you even do Sparky sales course is you need to be a genuine good person and care for your client. You need to be compassionate and understanding and make them like you.
Yeah.
And you can't, you know, speak like you're hectic from the area, because you can't go, then you'll go to Beecroft or the eastern suburbs.
Shut up,
and
Beecroft.
the door's closed on you. You will not get the job. So you're stuck in those areas. So you need to be able to adapt. So I got referred actually a few weeks ago to someone in Darling Point, and it was a handyman. And it's actually a Lebanese handyman, but he's an older guy. He's a real good, proper guy, like a great guy. But so this lady, Helen from Darling Point, calls me up and says, George Robinson has referred. I'm looking at myself, George Robinson. His name's like George Halak or something.
Yep.
And but I was like, yeah, anyway. So
he's changed his name, has he?
Yeah. Or
yeah.
I've sort of put that together on the call. And
so have I. Like, my name's Spiridon, but you know, I've made it Spyro just so it's so much easier. You know what I mean? Yeah. But yeah, so continue. Yeah.
So I've spoken to her on the phone, given her normal service, put it a bit on because I know she's from Darling Point, and then I've booked in for a site inspection and quote. I've got there, we've gone through everything, and I can tell like she's looking at me. She was happy. The price was good. My options were great. She's agreed to go ahead. And then she said to me, are you sure you're Brenton? I'm like, yeah, why? She's like, oh, I thought you were a bit English on the phone. I'm like, do I not look English? And she was like, oh, no. I was like, so
you're a wog.
Yeah. So I could tell she was like that. Obviously she didn't say it, but like, there's that mentality there. It's a little bit snobbish, but
that's like Sydney is like that, because the first thing you kind of ask people is like, it's just like, where do you live? Like, where are you from? Like that. Did you find that? It's like, but why do you ask that? Like, the only reason you're really asking that is sort of like scout, like
put them in a box.
Yeah. Don't you reckon that does that not happen, or does that happen? Like that happens, right?
Massively. I'm lucky that I grew up in a good area. I went to a good school. The downside of that, I've seen the snobbish nature. My parents, like, if some wog from the area came to quote my parents, they would be like, oh my God,
get out of here.
Get out, like super scared. Doesn't matter what the price is. Doesn't matter if they're the best price. It's there's so much more to the price than
it's human to human at the end of the day, right? So if you show them value, the price is irrelevant. You know what I mean? And look, Darling Point, we've got I love that we kind of mentioned that area, because we're at the moment we've got a client there. And to give you an idea, he gives the keys to his mansion to my staff, and inside his garage, he's got like millions of dollars worth of cars. One of them being like the first. Oh, I won't say the car actually, just in case. You know what I mean? But he's got like a car that's worth over $1 million. Over $1 million. It's a vintage car. It's worth over $1 million, and he just gives the keys. Yep, for house is open. Do your stuff, and I think that's one of the biggest indirect compliments to your business. Like being willing to say to someone, "Yep, I'm out for the day. I'm going to work." Gives your staff they're so comfortable to give the staff the keys to their fully furnished mansion where, yeah, you know what I mean? I think you tell me, do you reckon that's a massive compliment, right? Like,
yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So many of our clients are happy to open up for us and leave. And
that's a huge compliment.
Absolutely. And that's the most important thing is like when I'm hiring someone, I want them to be a good person first. I don't care your knowledge, we can teach or we can get that, but you've got to be a good person, presented well, speak well. Yeah. And that's the most important thing because my clients, I want them to have the same trust for you that they have for me.
I really enjoyed what you said there. Yeah, because it's got to be trustworthy, and that's how you build a sustainable business. And so, any closing statements before we wrap up, Brenton? It's been awesome. I loved hearing these sort of stories. So that's been awesome to hear.
So I've always gone to the wholesaler and asked the older guys, like, give me some advice or what can you tell me? Like, I'm trying to grow my business, whatever. And all you hear is like, oh, don't employ people, or like, you never hear their success stories. Yeah. Like, I want to hear like, have you paid off your house? Do you have a holiday house? Like, do you have a Ferrari, or have you bought your kids' houses? Yeah. I want to hear those stories. You don't hear it. Everyone's always like, oh. So it's like, and then you look on the electrician forums, it's like, it's a battle to the bottom. It's a race to the bottom, race to the bottom. Like, mate, we should be racing to the top. Like, we should all be coming together and helping each other. As you do, you show everything to do with your business.
I show all my numbers, right?
Yes, and that's the difference. It's like we should be helping each other, not battling with each other. Actually, sorry, I'm going to keep going on.
I love that. No, this is the best. I want to hear this.
There's a local electrician, and he's well known, and he's got a great business. I don't know him personally, but I've heard he's had a really good sector in the smoke alarm maintenance. Mm-hmm. So when those rules came out, he opened that up. And then we have a mutual person we know. And I reached out to that person and said, can you get me in front of this guy? I'd love to spend a day with him, learn that side of his business. Mm-hmm. He asked him and he goes, Russo? Like, why the fuck would I help Russo? He's my competition. Like, fuck that guy. Yeah. Fuck that guy. He can fuck off. And I was like, I was like, so what? Like, what do you mean? Yeah. Like, really blown away. And now, like, if I ever get the opportunity and I'm coming up against, I'll take that guy's work. I don't give a fuck. Like, but people I know, the people that help, like if I come up against you, like, no, we didn't know each other. We didn't know each other. Yeah. But like I've had before, like people say, oh, we're not happy with our guy. Oh, who's your guy? Like, no, he's awesome. Like I know him really well. He's a great guy. Like, and I'll do that. Yeah. Because there's no need. We don't need to undercut each other or fight over the work. There's work for us. We all need to improve together.
100%. And I love what you said there as well. Because on those electricians forums, it's the blind leading the blind. There's so many people like saying, it's all shit. Don't employ anyone. They just take all your money. There's no money in it. It's a shit game. You get all of that. But then that's why we when we were making the Sparky Sales Systems closed members only Facebook group, we made the conscious decision to make it members only to sort of filter them out. Because what do you see in the members group? Like just instead of those forums, what do you see people posting in our members only group?
Well, they're posting their wins, and that people ask questions like, oh, how did you do that? How did you word that?
Yep.
It's completely different.
It's completely different, right? You actually see people doing, you know, guys that have just started up doing upwards of, you know, $15,000 a week in sales, and they're posting that stuff. I think I mentioned his name. I'll get him on the pod and I'll give very, very shortly. But even he posted a $25,000 a week. Now he started his business 2 months ago. You know, I don't know if you remember. He's talking about. I'm talking about. Yeah. And it was just, and within the second week, he was hitting upwards of 10 Gs. So I think that's gonna be an awesome pod. If he's listening to this, coming for you, you're gonna come onto the pod. But he's in Melbourne, so I might go to Melbourne or do it over Zoom or something, or fly him over to come into here. But we'll work something out. But you're right. There's so many people that are saying that. It's a very gate-kept community. You know me. I actually, obviously for our members, I screen share exactly all the numbers of my business. I'm very open which is my job. You know, this is how you do this is the ROI of everything. This is how much we're making. This is everything. So I'm an open book for sure. And yeah, that's been awesome. And yeah, I think the industry just needs to level up. There's so much work out there. Like I said, like that's why I'm not gatekept at all. I'm very like, you know, guys, you can be great. You can be more. Like, you know what I mean? And the industry is changing very quickly. Like people are waking up thanks to like, you know, all the programs that are out there. They're realizing that $100 an hour doesn't work. It does not work. I wish it did, but it doesn't work. And yeah, the more we, you know, the more reach that we have, the more people sort of jumping on board, the more it levels up the whole industry. So I'm super, super pumped for the future. What are your sort of plans for the future? Grow profits, buy more real estate.
Yeah, pretty much. No, more importantly, I want to set up better systems to reward my team.
Awesome.
I've done well in the last 10 years. Like I could have done better, but I'll continue to grow, get the help, the mentorship I need, and my number one priority will be my workers. So
that is so beautiful. Yeah. All ships lift up. I love that. Like, yeah, look after the boys. You know what I mean? Look after the team. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
that is absolute gold because everyone, just because you win doesn't mean your staff don't.
Yeah, exactly.
Everybody wins and everyone levels up. I love that. That's awesome. Well, Brenton's been an awesome pod. Absolutely appreciate your time being here and looking forward to seeing you absolutely continue to smash it as a 7-figure Sparky.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.